The Islamic Society of Boston Cultural Center, or ISBCC, is a controversial Saudi-funded mega-mosque. Most of its worshippers are peaceful and well-meaning members. However, many of the mosque's leaders and trustees have long-standing links to radical Islam and terrorism. In fact, the organization which runs the mosque, the Muslim American Society, or MAS for short, has been identified by federal prosecutors as the overt arm of the Muslim Brotherhood in America. Here, a close look at some sermons on democracy, women, Jews, Christians, and homosexuals by the Boston Mosque's leaders and invited speakers show that Muslim Brotherhood ideology is being taught to young Muslims here in Boston. But public officials, out of ignorance or fear of seeming insensitivity to a minority community, have often legitimized extremism within the Boston Muslim community. Boston Mosque officials have been embraced by political and civic leaders, including Boston Mayor Thomas Menino, Massachusetts Governor Deval Patrick, as well as prominent clergy. It is in fact very easy for well-intentioned people to be deceived by the mosque's facade. Mosque leaders have spent thousands of dollars on professional PR consultants and have hired a talented MIT graduate, Bilal Kaleem, to serve as their public face. In his public statements, Bilal is careful to cultivate an image of goodwill, moderation, and all-American values.
The need of the day is relationships, dialogue, and education, certainly about Islam and Muslims. We're very happy that we've finally been able to open this new mosque and cultural center in Roxbury, which we think is a great new addition, a landmark in this city of cultural landmarks. So we really invite folks to come check us out, come there. It's an open public facility.
Yusuf al-Qaradawi was one of the original trustees of the Boston Mosque. He is also the spiritual leader of the Extremist Muslim Brotherhood. The Anti-Defamation League has branded him the theologian of terror. Through his weekly Al Jazeera show, Qaradawi regularly broadcasts anti-Semitic, homophobic, and misogynist sermons throughout the Muslim world.
عقوبة من يمارس اللواط والسحاق.
وبعضهم قال الاثنين عقوبتهم سواء وبعضهم قال نرميهم من حالق زي ربنا ما عمل في قوم لوط وبعضهم قال نحرقهم وبعضهم يعني المهم تجريم هذا العمل ليس ضربه يعني نافعا لأي امرأة في بعض النساء يصلح معهم هذا. اللهم عليك بهذه الطغمة اليهودية الصهيونية الباغية اللهم لا تبق لهم من باقية اللهم احصهم عددا واقتلهم بددا ولا تبق منهم أحدا. رسالة إلى إخواننا في فلسطين. أنا عندي أمل أن الله سبحانه وتعالى كما أقر عيني بنصر مصر أن يقر عيني بفتح المسجد الأقصى.
Qaradawi has been banned from his home country of Egypt for 30 years. His return to Cairo in February of 2011 after the fall of the Mubarak regime has been noted with alarm by many who are concerned about the Muslim Brotherhood's influence in Egypt. Now, Qaradawi's hateful teachings have found their way to Massachusetts. In 2001, Qaradawi became the founding chairman of the Islamic American University, an educational institution for which the Boston Mosque provided startup funds. The organization that runs the mosque and employs Bilal, the Muslim American Society, or MAS for short, says on its website that the Islamic American University is a subsidiary of the MAS and is one of the MAS's main projects. In 2007, Qaradawi's university began offering classes at the Boston Mosque taught by the mosque's imam. Understandably, Bilal makes extraordinary efforts to hide the Boston Mosque's possible connections to the Muslim Brotherhood. Despite the evidence to the contrary, when asked about Qaradawi's relationship with his mosque, Bilal denies that the cleric's ideology has any association with the Boston Mosque or with American Muslims in general. Responding to a recent question about Qaradawi's ties to his organization, Bilal's response did not appear to be consistent with known facts.
The other guy here, Yusuf Qaradawi, who is a religious leader based out of Qatar. He recently, I think this past year or the year and a half before that, he spoke out very nastily against Jews in general. Well, what do we think about that? That stuff is hideous, nasty. No, American Muslim that I know with or certainly associate with, certainly with our organizations, whatever, would ever agree with that or stand for that.
Bilal claims that Qaradawi did not begin preaching Jew hatred until a year and a half ago. However, in 1993, when he was nominated as a trustee of the Boston Mosque, Qaradawi addressed a conference of American Muslims in Toledo, Ohio, and said this:
"You shall continue to fight the Jews, and they will fight you until the Muslims will kill them, and the Jew will hide behind the stone in the tree, and the stone in the tree will say, 'O servant of Allah, O Muslim, this is a Jew behind me, come and kill him.'"
Qaradawi's university has several intimate links with the MAS Mosque. The vice chairman of the university, Jamal Badawi, became a trustee of the Boston Mosque in 2007. In that same year, Badawi was listed as an unindicted co-conspirator in the Holy Land Foundation terrorism funding trial. FBI evidence presented at the trial exposed Badawi as a director of the executive board of the American chapter of the Muslim Brotherhood. In his lectures, Badawi promotes the Muslim Brotherhood goal of replacing democracy with an Islamic theocratic state.
Establishment of Islamic order, the establishment of Islamic rule is mandatory. It's a requirement that the Muslims as a group and individuals, whenever they are able to, must establish. Those who do not rule and judge in accordance with God's revelation are unbelievers and are rebels against God and wrongdoers.
The Islamic American University isn't the only controversial institution to teach at the Boston Mosque. The radical Al-Maghrib Institute has offered several seminars at the Boston Mosque. After the failed Christmas Day bombing, it was revealed that the bomber, Imam Farook, had taken a total of 3 seminars taught by Al-Maghrib instructors. One of the instructors who taught the bomber, Yasir Qadhi, has also lectured at the Boston Mosque. A video version of a class he gave in Boston posted on YouTube reveals Qadhi's attitudes towards democracy.
It is not my right to legislate or your right to legislate. No Supreme Court, no system of government, no democracy where they vote. Can you believe it? A group of people coming together and voting, and the majority vote will then be the law of the land. What gives you the right to prohibit something or allow something? Who gave you this right? Are you creators? Are you all knowledgeable?
Qadhi has also given extremely anti-Christian sermons, accusing Christians of being polytheists, or mushrikun in Arabic.
So the Christians do commit shirk. They are kuffar and they are mushrikun. The mushrikun are najas, they are filthy. Najasa. The life and property of a mushrik holds no value in the state of jihad.
He also believes that Jews are conspiring to harm Muslims.
Why are Jews studying Islam? There is a reason. Not that they want to help us, they want to destroy us.
In 2009, the mosque's executive director, Bilal Kalim, was caught on camera hustling away a young mosque member after he began explaining Islamic anti-Semitic theories to a man with a video camera.
The Jews assassinated the prophet?
They tried to.
They did?
Anytime.
Do you have the
and they were kicked out of Medina for betraying the prophet.
This young man echoes controversial statements made several years ago by one of the mosque's trustees and its biggest donor, Walid Fatahi. Writing in an Arabic newspaper, Fatahi claimed the Jews were a people who have betrayed the trust of heaven and who have killed prophets.
At one point, about 8, 9 years ago, I don't know how long ago, during the peak of what was the Intifada or the resistance in the occupied territories in Palestine, he spoke very derisively and in what I would call an anti-Semitic way about Jews. Now he claims that when he spoke that, he was referring to Israelis.
Over the past few years, Several incidents have raised public concern about the potential impact of hate speech on violence in this country. Yet, incitement by Islamic extremists against American citizens has been mostly ignored by the mainstream media. Sadly, the young mosque members' extremist views are neither isolated nor the most virulent evidence of the impact radical speakers like Yasir Qadhi might have on Muslim youth in Boston. In 2009, 2 young Boston men associated with the mosque were indicted on terror charges. One, Ahmad Abu Samra, was the son of a former mosque vice president. Ahmad has now fled to Syria. The other, Tariq Mahana, was arrested and accused of plotting to shoot shoppers in a New England shopping mall. In September of 2010, an MIT and Brandeis graduate, Afia Siddiqui, who was also closely associated with the Boston mosque leaders, was sentenced to 86 years for attempted murder of FBI agents in Afghanistan. Before either Mahana or Siddiqui were even sentenced, one of the Boston Mosque's imams, Abdullah Farook, who was frequently used as a spokesman of the mosque and who was Afia Siddiqui's imam when she lived in Boston, was already using their stories to incite other Boston Muslims.
Some are concerned about comments he made at a Brighton mosque in March. He called for action.
Grab onto the shovel, grab onto the gun and the sword. Don't be afraid to step out into this world and do your job.
And asked for support of Afia Siddiqui and Tariq Mahana. Siddiqui is the former MIT student convicted of attempted murder for firing on American law enforcement officials in Afghanistan. Mahana of Sudbury was arrested on federal terrorism charges.
I brought some papers tonight that I'm going to ask if I could give out regarding a woman who is presently suffering, this woman Afia Sadiq. Some people are afraid to get involved with politics and things that are going on, but you know, after they're finished with Afia, they're going to come to your door if they feel like it. You know, this Patriot Act permits them to come anywhere they want at any time.
Roxbury Imam Farook has been active in the radical Islamic movement seeking to free Mahana and Siddiqui. In March of 2010, he hosted in his home Maurice Salah Khan, a Washington, D.C.-based anti-government extremist who has advocated for the release of all Islamic terrorists held in American jails. Salah Khan was in Boston to launch his Free Afia campaign and was invited by the Free Tariq Mahana Committee.
And Afia Siddiqui is a young Muslim woman who went to school in Boston, graduated from MIT and Brandeis. What happened to this Pakistani woman was totally unwarranted. It smacks of a crime against humanity committed by our government.
The night before his event with the Free Tariq group, the Boston Mosque hosted Salah Khan for a sermon, and he thanked the mosque's management, meaning Bilal and his fellow staff, on his blog for their hospitality. Yet in public, Imam Farook puts on a very different face.
Grab onto the shovel, grab onto the gun and the sword. Don't be afraid to step out into this world and do your job.
When confronted by Boston media about his explicit incitement against the American government, Farook feigned innocence.
Talking about any uprising here in the Muslim community?
No, I'm talking
anything about terrorism?
Has nothing to do with terrorism at all. It has something to do with being an American citizen trying to preserve our way of life.
Despite his hateful rhetoric, Imam Farook has a close relationship with the governor of Massachusetts, Deval Patrick, who has prayed with Farook and publicly embraced him. How long will our civic leaders continue to ignore the Boston Mosque's hatred and incitement? How many more youths, convinced by the hatred promoted by the Boston Mosque's leaders and speakers, might decide to pick up the gun?
He is the nicest person you will ever see, you will ever meet. He's a brother, he's a son, a good son, he's a friend, he helps people. I can't believe this is happening to us.
How many more mothers will have to face the reality that their sons are in jail, accused of trying to kill their neighbors?
Those who can make us believe absurdities can also cause us to commit atrocities.
Americans for Peace and Tolerance needs your support in combating the radicalization of America's historically moderate Muslim community. Go to www.peaceandtolerance.org to learn more.